Hi, welcome back. Now we're on to step 4 of creating our current state value stream map. And in step 4, we're going to show information flow in our process. Now we're going to have a number of different ways information could possibly flow in a process. It could be electronic, via email, could be coming from a database system, could be manual, picking up the telephone, pen and paper. So there's all sorts of different ways that information can flow in between process steps, and also from our customer and our supplier in this current state value stream. And so what we're going to start with is the information flow palette. So the information flow palette up in the top here is the one with the little envelope. And you can see a bunch of different icons here for showing information flow. Now we're going to start with production control, which is this icon here in the center of our information flow. And so we'll zoom in on this. And production control, I'll label this here, production control, is going to be the central player in information flowing in our value stream. Now if you wanted to describe production flow with any, or production control with any type of descriptor, you can type that in here. I'm not going to do that. In our example, we are using an MRP system, which is just material resource planning system. So you could replace this with whatever system you're currently using for your value stream map, be it SAP or one of the other types of material planning systems. So production control is going to be the key player in information in this particular value stream map. Now information is going to be flowing into production control and out of production control. And so let's start with our customer and information that's flowing from the customer. And I'm going to use this icon up here to represent information flow from our customer. And information flow from the customer is going to be electronic, and they're going to be giving us a couple things. One is going to be a forecast. So first I'm just going to go ahead and connect this to our customer here. And so I can grab the end of my arrow here and show this coming from our customer. This end of the arrow is going to be coming over here to production control. And I'm just going to give myself a little bit more room here on this descriptor. And so this is going to be a 90, 60, and 30-day forecast. And we have an arrow here that shows this little up and down. That's an electronic flow arrow. And to change the different arrow types, you can come here in the LeanPilot software and click on this icon to get the different line types. So if you wanted to change this to a straight arrow or to a curved arrow, any type of different information flow type arrows, you can do that here. But in our case, it's an electronic flow, which is this up and down line. That icon represents electronic flow. And I'm just going to move this over just a little bit. And so we've got now this forecast coming from our customer every 30, 60, 90 days to production control to tell them this is what we think we're going to be ordering, so they can start planning for that. But then we're also going to have a daily order coming from the customer to production control. And now one simple way that LeanPilot allows you to just replicate this arrow in this text box without having to do all those previous steps I showed you is just to click on whatever it is when you'll replicate, and there's this little icon here that will allow us to duplicate the element. So I can duplicate that, move that down here, and I want to duplicate my arrow. So I'm going to do the same thing with that. And so now I can simply just take and connect my arrow to production control from my customer. Move this over here. And now instead of the 90, 60, and 30-day forecast, this is going to be a daily order that's going to be sent by the customer. So this is going to complete the information flow that we are getting from our customer. We're getting a forecast from them every 90, 60, and 30 days, and then a daily order. So now I'm going to zoom back out using the fit to page icon down here, back to our flow. And now I'm going to complete the circuit between production control and our supplier. And so our supplier is going to have a 6-week forecast that they're going to receive from production control, and they're going to get a weekly fax. And so I'm going to go ahead and connect these two again, like I did with the customer and production control. So we're going to have, let's try this again here. From production control to our supplier. And now let's zoom in on this. And so here we're going to have a 6-week forecast that's going to be going to them. And I'm going to want to duplicate this, so I'm just going to go and click on the duplicate. And we're also going to be giving them a weekly fax. So every week we're going to send a fax. And now I want to duplicate my arrow as well. And I'm just going to move this over here to kind of give this a little space. So now we have this weekly fax going to our supplier as well as a 6-week forecast. So now if we take a step back and look at our map again, now you can see we've started to close the loop here. We've got the forecast coming in from the customer. We've got their daily order coming into production control. We have a 6-week forecast going to our supplier along with the weekly fax. Now the last step in this process is going to be how does information flow from production control to each of the process steps. And that's going to be a manual information flow. So I'm going to use the straight arrow here, bring this down here, and I'm going to change my arrow type so I can come here and grab my arrow and touch it to my stamping. And well, let's just go ahead and leave this a straight arrow. And so now I've got information flowing from production control to stamping. Now I'm going to have the same information flowing to stamping, to welding stations 1 and 2, and assembly 1 and 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this arrow a few more times. Let's see, I think I need one more here. And now I'm just going to go ahead and connect these arrows between production control and welding station 1. Then we're going to have between production control and welding station 2. Between production control and assembly. All right, let's try and move this. Okay. Let's try that again with this arrow. All right, so let's just switch our arrow type. I can show you can also do curved arrows. And so in this case, we can take our arrow. Let's show it from assembly number 2 over here to production control. And I'm going to want to duplicate that one to put in this last arrow from assembly number 2 to production control. So now you can see we've got our information flow going to stamping, welding stations 1 and 2, assembly 1 and 2, and these are all the same information. So now I'm just going to go ahead and insert a text box, which is going to be under the information flow palette here. And I'm just going to drag in a text box here and make this text box a little bit wider. And what's flowing to these steps is a weekly schedule. So I'm going to go ahead and type in here weekly schedule. And just to make this a little bit easier to read, I'm going to go ahead and increase the font of this. And you can format this however you like. But I'm just going to show this as the weekly schedule here in big font. So now we've got this weekly schedule that's flowing to each of the process steps. And then our last step in the process is to shipping, information going to shipping. And so information going to shipping is going to be just a daily shipping schedule. So I'm going to come back to my information flow. And I'm going to use this arrow again. And here we're going to have information coming from production control down here to shipping. Let's see if I can connect these two. And this is going to be a daily ship schedule. So if we zoom in here, this is a daily ship schedule. And this is a manual information flow, so I'm going to change my arrow type here to a straight arrow. And remember, to do that, you just simply click on your arrow, and I'm going to go to here and show this as a straight arrow, which is going to be this line type here. So now we've got our information flow complete. So now if we zoom out and we take a look at our whole value stream map here, you can see that we have information flowing from the customer to production control, from production control to our supplier, and then also from production control to our individual process steps, and then also finally to our shipping, a daily ship schedule. And that completes our fourth step, which is completing all the information flow in the value stream.